It's the end of another week of school. This week was actually pretty good. We had a late start on Thursday, had to be here by 8. I had to help facilitate a PD for teachers, particularly the science department. But then I also had a parent conference at the same time with an interpreter, not a Spanish speaker, but a different language. And if you hear sniffing, because those are my dogs. Where are you at? I'm here. We have like a vet tech program here, and so every couple of weeks they allow teachers and community members to bring their dogs for grooming. So they got their nails clipped and got showered, so I was able to bring them to school today, and I just picked them up. So my students, I feel like they're doing well because one of the things that I'm working on is providing written feedback. It's one of the areas that, I'm being honest, it's a challenge area. I remember my first year of teaching, it's one of the things that I tried to do because, going through, student teaching, that's one of the things that take you written feedback, how important it is. But I just became overwhelmed with all the stuff, being a new teacher, all the admin duties that I would have to do, dealing with students and behavioral issues, that I just couldn't keep up with it. And I'm sad to say that a lot of those papers went into the recycle bin. And then I just never really picked up with providing written feedback for a majority of my career. And so I realized, when I say written feedback, I would sometimes put like good job, but that's very vague. Like, why is it a good job? So another thing that I'm trying to do, especially with the implementation of the standards-based grading, and many of the assessments so far have been open response. We have not given any multiple choice assessments at all this entire school year. They have been, write a one-page essay over, describing the relationship between wavelength and frequency, or, show your work to calculate these problems. And so with the way that I'm assessing students this year, I figured that would be a great time to practice providing written feedback. I'm not going to try to burn myself out by having every single summative assessment where I provide written feedback. Eventually that's my goal. I don't know if that's gonna happen this school year, but one of the things that I am doing is I make an answer key and then I tape it outside of my door in the hallway. And as soon as students are done, they come and they grab, I have different colored pens. They leave their pencil or pen with me, and they go and they assess themselves, they evaluate. So they see where they went wrong, made mistakes, and if they have any questions or they want to know why, or like, would this count, I just tell them, write me a note and leave it on there. But then also score yourself based on the rubric criteria that is on the sheet of paper. And so I just tell them, what do you think you would score yourself? And don't worry, because I'm going to take them back and I'm going to look through it, and then my score is going to override your score. But I want you to, take it as a learning experience. Like, what are you learning? What are you not learning? And then I can use that to provide written feedback to the students. One of the other things that I do before I provide written feedback is I scan their assessments. So that way I have a PDF copy, because our copy machine allows you to scan and send you an email. And so I have that before like any comments go on there, because also, and I said this in an earlier vlog, is that I had student work from last year that I used this year for some of the activities. And I want to keep that work because in the future, I want to, as we're reviewing for a final or just reviewing maybe as a warm-up, I want to give the students their papers back without their name on it. They won't know. They'll probably recognize their writing, but then I want them to kind of like correct their, their past selves, as well as use their work for next year's students. As a warm-up, as an activity for students to engage in accountable talk, reviewing work. Quit jumping on me. Down. So I've been able to do that. I think I want to move to a way where like I can perhaps scan it and then provide feedback online, because I can type a lot faster than writing, and then my hand starts to hurt when I'm already like 2 papers in. But a lot of students have gotten, like, depending on how they did, quite lengthy feedback. And not just, it was like overall feedback, but then feedback per problem. Like if I noticed them doing something, like I either left them a question or I explained the correct manner in which they were supposed to do something. I did tell students for the last assessment that they just took, because actually they took two. It was naming ionic compounds, and then they had to write a chemical formula given elements or ions. And so it was front and back, and they took them both today. I told them that they needed to do practice problems first, that I'm going to put onto Canvas. And then they also needed to come in for tutoring, because I would not allow them to reassess until they've done that. And I felt like I've been inconsistent with that this school year. So there are times where like I told them they've had to do stuff, and then I just, you know, didn't follow through with that, and that's my fault. And so I'm sticking to this plan. I know I'm developing it towards the end of the grading period. Like we have what, 3 more weeks left of school before the fall semester ends. But right now this is what the expectation is, so that when we start spring semester, they will be familiar with it, and then I just need to be consistent with it. My student teacher, his last week is next week. He ends, and he's doing well. He got a job, so congratulations. If he watches this, I don't know. And one of the things, just, you know, in providing feedback to him, I realized as feedback to myself, evaluated myself, that, you know, if I ever get a student teacher again, which I will have one in the spring, is that I probably should sit down with that person. It's like, here are expectations for, and not to say that my student teacher was like horrible or anything like that, but my room is like, it's such a state of just, it's a disaster zone. And it's like a complete, which is fine, but I think I just also wasn't used to having somebody in here with me all the time, and then working with the person to try to like, here, have a space to put all your stuff, and no excuses, my fault. It is what it is. So like, I'm gonna clean up and make sure that my room is ready to go for my next student teacher, so that way I'm not in this state where I'm just leaving things all over the place. But that was a learning lesson for me and experience. I'm going to grab my stuff because it's Friday. I had a student come for tutoring, and I should say, let me backtrack. In conjunction with writing written feedback, I have been giving students, and I talked about this in a couple of vlogs ago, that when students have shown that like they're turning around in their work and they're coming into tutoring or they're participating, like I have written them personalized thank you cards. Like I have like cards that I've bought at Target, write their name on the envelope and give it to them. But they also we have school dollars, and they can use those school dollars to purchase things from the school store. When they're seniors, if they have school dollars, I believe they can use that to purchase a cap and gown. They can enter into school raffles to win prizes. So, and I can also win prizes myself, because we have to like write our name, and I have a stamp from when I was in AP. So I just stamp the school dollar, and so I'm able to be entered into a raffle if the students decide to turn their money in. But I also write them school dollars every time they come in for tutoring after school, especially students that had not been coming. I just say, you know, thank you. I appreciate the fact that you are dedicated to improving, you know, your performance this semester, or like you're really doing a great job. I want you to keep it up. Things like that. And so many students have come over, like they're asked, or if I forget to give them their dollar, you didn't give me my dollar. Okay. But I've been really good and consistent since starting that thing. And as I said like 2 videos ago or 3, that other students have noticed that I've been giving out the school money. And it's not just for that, it's also like if I just see how they interact during class. So it's helpful when my student teacher is teaching, I can see, I can sit back and I can watch students in that particular period, which I will officially take over after next week, to kind of see who is struggling and who's improving, who is doing really well and who's slipping now, because I have a few of those cases going on right now. But I think in conjunction with the written feedback, the personalized cards and the personalized school money messages, that has been making an impact, a positive impact on my students, and they have been performing better. They've been coming in, and actually many of them are doing a lot better, especially for topics that some students would consider hard. And they now believe me about their polyatomic ions, because from the first day of school, I told them, please start learning these, because it's going to come back and bite you when we get to naming ionic compounds. And so we had a test, and as we were practicing, like the students realized, oh, you were right. And I told them, right now they're in the middle of making a video. I may have said this before, but I said I was going to go home, and here I'm still talking. I will go home after I finish this. The students also had to make a video using Flipgrid to talk about the process of ionic bonding, and I'm really excited about that because I hadn't used it before or yet, and someone in a Facebook group shared what their students did with Flipgrid, and so I used that person's class because they were public, and so I showed the students like, this is what you can do, like it could be funny, and it was chemistry, pre-AP chemistry students. They weren't doing the topic we were doing, so the students can get a sense of what was needed. And so that was great. And so several students have already turned in their videos because they got the assignment before we left for Thanksgiving break, and they had Thanksgiving week to work on it. They had this week. It's due towards the end of next week. But many of the students have already turned them in, and like some of them have me laughing. And they're the ones who are doing right now pretty well because some turned them in the first day we got back from Thanksgiving holiday. And so that's something else that I'm trying to help the students beyond like me showing testing strategies and studying strategies. The students are picking them up because I even saw that on some of the summative assessments that they did yesterday and today. I think that's it. I don't think I left anything out. I'm trying to think. I was all over the place in this particular vlog. But that said, I'm going to grab these two little monsters. Come on. And we are going to go home. And I will release my vlog next week. I need to figure out what I'm going to talk about. I don't know because I didn't really plan for this one. So I will be out. I'm going to go home, have a great weekend or day or whatever. And I will be back next week. Do me a favor, if there was anything about this video that you liked, then make sure to hit that like button, comment down below, and or share the video. If you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe so that way you can bond with James. As always, thanks for watching. Bye.